Ndinoda kuti nyika isiwe vanhu vangu inguva yedu hatingatadzi kubudirira Mwari ari parutivi pedu rambai muchirwa My hitters gon' die, the real hitters gon' shine and my people gon' rise 'cause we're born to win, I ain't saying but I'm saying Loyalty's my favorite characteristic of God, but finding it in it is hard. It's like trying to find God. You're the only one in your camp with cheese. You pay for everything they eat. Man, that insecurity is deep. Now I ain't said no names. These are just theories. If you hear me, baby, it's home. You must admit it's kinda eerie, baby. Like them chemtrails in the sky. Ain't the selling the slaves, kinda like the combines. We say everything in moderation, but don't do it in moderation. The lies of a gluttonous generation. 10-year-old girl in.
Well, grand rising, everybody. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. We got a terrific Tuesday lineup for you guys today. I'm so glad that I have some amazing guests in the building. I'm going to be speaking with Taniesha Lyons, the Executive Director of Federal Way Black Collective, doing great work out there in Federal Way. And I am a Federal Way homeowner, so it really, really does my heart some warmth to know about what they have going on. So I can't wait to dive into it with her. They also have an upcoming event that she's going to be sharing with us. And then later on in the show, I'll be checking in with Trae Moore, an amazing musician and producer. Y'all may have seen him on Weird at Night. He is a very regular there. So I'm so glad that he's jumped on over here to share some of his musical journey with us. But of course, it's the top of the show, y'all. So it's a great time for you to tag and share this stream. Please tag and share this stream with folks you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on The Day with Trae. Don't worry if you can't watch us. You can listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and The Day with Trae. Y'all will find me there on Google, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud. You name it. I don't even know how many platforms. I don't know the names of them all, but there's probably like over 200. We're on all of them. Double check your favorite one and find us there. Well, before I get in with Taniesha, I want to dive into something that we've been seeing. It's something that we've seen kind of sweep the nation when it comes to gun violence on campuses. Students are now stepping up, and some of our students from Seattle also stepped up. And we want to, Converge Media was on the scene. Let's show you how they were stepping up.
Hundreds of high school students from across Seattle walked out of their schools Monday and marched to City Hall to demand action from leaders after last week's fatal shooting of a student at Ingraham High School in North Seattle. End gun violence! Many of them carried signs outlining their demands and decrying misplaced priorities.
We are demanding actions be made so we can resume to a safe learning environment. We are demanding de-escalation, anti-racism, and restorative justice training for all of our security educators. Lack of security does not mean we want resource officers.
They let City Hall know, in no uncertain terms, what their lives are like.
It makes me sick to think that in many ways, this could have been prevented. To our principal, Martin Flo, we demand change. To the Seattle Public School District, we demand change. And to the representatives of our state, the one that controls how guns are regulated and ensure the safety of students, we demand change. We do not go to school to fear for our lives. This was an entirely preventable situation, and yet here we are standing before you.
We, as a club and a community, demand gun reform. Within King County, a turn-in program exists for the voluntary removal of guns from households.
We wake up every morning to prepare ourselves for our futures and not our ends. The violence indicted on November 8th was not the first time students did not feel safe in our school building. This is a recurring issue that has demanded proper action for years, and yet society has let us down. Administration is letting us down. The district is letting us down.
Members of the council joined the students, including Deborah Juarez, who addressed them.
We have failed you. As your parents, as protectors, you should not have to learn the terms of active shooter, a reunification area,
The school district has failed them in even our very
Some of the students recounted their harrowing experience during the shooting.
The feeling of hopelessness and uncertainty was overwhelming, stuck wondering if I would to face something that I wouldn't or couldn't walk away from. All I knew was that I needed to do whatever it took to keep my classmates safe. My classmate Nick Babington and I grabbed filing cabinets and anything we could find to barricade the door. After securing the room the best we could, we started saying our goodbyes. With shaking hands, I called my father to make a phone call I never imagined myself making. The other 7 people in the room with us were saying their own goodbyes and I love you.
Oh my goodness. Shout out to Cesar Canizales, one of our correspondents here at Converge, for being on the scene there and pulling this piece together. I mean, this is something that we cannot just talk about. And I think it's one of those things when you're in media, you want to highlight, okay, this is great that students were out there, but the reason why they felt they needed to be out there, what's being done on the other side. I appreciate Council President Deborah Juarez stepping out to share with those students that, yes, there is a major failure that is happening with regard to our elected officials and really stepping up to the plate to ensure that policy and legislation is progressive enough to address this issue. We've been dealing with this. I think one of the first ones, of course, Columbine. So this has been over a decade of us dealing with gun violence, mass shootings happening at school campuses, and yet we still have it happening today. So, I just read something that showcased a bunch of different mass shootings all over the country. And it's almost as if we've just become numb to it. It's normalized in our society. And it's something that should never be normalized. So shout out to all of those students for sharing their experience, their voices, their demands, for coming up with such eloquent demands for those who are in positions of power to make change. I think it's on all of us to stand alongside these students. With a high school student myself, it really hits home as a parent because you want to do everything you can to ensure your child is safe. And school campuses, school grounds are one of those places where you don't want to even have to think about your child's safety. And yet here we are as parents, as caregivers, as loved ones, as family members dealing with this, almost on a weekly basis across the country. So shout out to everyone who stepped up and stepped out and made sure their voices were heard. Man, so powerful. Well, of course, we get to continue in some powerful action with my next guest coming up. Taniesha Lyons, the executive director of Federal Way Black Collective, is going to be sharing with us some powerful work they've been doing in an upcoming event they have. Hi, Taniesha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I'll say I've known about Federal Way Black Collective for several years, and there's been a lot of work happening in the Federal Way area, but you guys also connect to different organizations across the county. Tell us what Federal Way Black Collective is.
Federal Way Black Collective we're a community service organization. We're an organization that believes in empowering Black people within Federal Way, but empowering our community to be able to thrive and not just survive. I think so often that with all of the different with the pandemic and all the different things happening, within the community, oftentimes we focus on surviving, just getting through the day to day. And so with the collective, our focus is making sure our community can thrive. So we help small businesses. We have a program, Small Business Resiliency Network, that brings in small businesses. We provide planning, business planning. We provide different programs that these businesses can use to be able to get started and to be able to flourish.
Yeah. We talk about the need of small businesses as like the backbone of American economics, and it is true. without we saw a real decline in Black business ownership when the pandemic hit. But one of the things that I was so inspired by is that we also saw a real uptick in Black owned women businesses throughout the pandemic. I think a lot of people went back to, you know what, I've had this idea on the back burner. My 9 to 5 is, reduced hours, or now, they had to shut down the campus because of COVID. A lot of jobs shifted. And so a lot of people stepped up to the plate and said, I got to do something different. When you think about, you just coming into the role, tell us a bit about what you did before entering Federal Way Black Collective, where you can bring that, your lived experience and expertise into the role as executive director.
Sure. So I'm a community organizer. I'm a community advocate within the city of Lakewood. And so my passion is community. It has always been community. Even from a small child, my grandmother, she didn't have an organization. She wasn't, real known in the community. But she had a heart for people. And so this is a generational work. And so my family has an organization, Springbrook Connections, within the city of Lakewood, where we service our community. It's a community-led organization, a community organization that is empowered by the community. So everything that the organization does is centered around what the community has asked for and what they want. And then the community comes together and they volunteer, and they've really taken on their neighborhood. And it's not really giving back. I think it's empowering ourselves to be able to thrive and do better.
Yeah, I think about the need for community-based organizations, particularly where community members can feel safe and confident that they can bring their voice to something and draw on that collective nature of power of the collectivism, right? Like for me, that's exactly why I even do this. It's a part of me and my advocacy, right? Is I want to be able to uplift all the great things that are happening. But it's interesting how when you're in the community and then serving community, you have this kind of dual thing happening. And I'm sure you experience that so much. What are some of the joys that you've already experienced in your role as executive director for Federal Way Black Collective?
Just being able to really help the community and to be able to engage with the community. I'm excited about our community coming together and telling us how they would like us to service in that community. I think oftentimes organizations get created, and they get created out of a heart and passion for wanting to do something, but they forget the people that they're serving. So oftentimes programs are created that nobody's utilizing because nobody went to the community to say, hey, what do you need? How can we help you? And not only how can we help you, but how can we help empower you to even help yourself? And so I think that is just exciting.
Yeah. I think it really takes a lot of passion to do this work for community, because sometimes folks will say, well, it's a thankless job. But I have experienced it in my various roles in community. And I understand that for me, it's like I'm driven to ensure that I'm giving my energy to something that's going to make things better over time. And, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in Federal Way, particularly around civic engagement. And it's something that I'm always saying as a Federal Way homeowner. I'm like, you know what? Nobody's knocking on my door to get my vote. What's up with that? How come? It's almost as if, okay, you're going to lean Democrat. I don't really have to, fight for your vote. And we just experienced in that local election, yes, we got our people back in the seats, but we also have to be able to understand that it's a relationship, and it should be, symbiotic. It should be something that's reciprocal. If I am giving you my vote, what are you doing for me? And I think that sometimes it's on organizations to kind of uphold that pillar for a lot of folks, because it is a lot of work for individual families to have to dig in to it. And so I find that, creating that bridge is really important. I just love that you guys are out. You guys are doing great work, with small businesses and connecting with community members and families. I look forward to more collaboration with you all out there in Federal Way. You guys have an event coming up, and I want to be able to talk
Yes.
about that because it's exciting when you give opportunities also to vendors and small businesses. Tell us more about this event.
Yes, I'm so excited. So at Thomas Jefferson High School on Saturday, November 19th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., we are going to be holding a community event. It's merely one of our board members' birthday. And so his idea was to be able to give back to his community and to bring community together. And we got excited at the collective. Oh yeah, that's what we love to do. So we are going to be offering an opportunity for vendors to come in and be able to vend and whatever their products are. But also it's a way to we're going to be feeding 33 families. And so we're with our community partners. They have chosen the 33 families who will be receiving meals for Thanksgiving. And then we're also going to be having a concert. And so we're asking that for those who would like to attend, if you don't have anything to bring, that's fine. But we're asking that you bring a canned good item because we would like to replenish one of the food banks that have donated to these families. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So we're going to have a concert. We're going to have live poetry, and we're just going to have fun.
Yeah. These kinds of markets where we come together as community members to uplift the amazing businesses right in our backyard is so key. It always takes me back to how the roaring towns of, I always say roaring towns of the 20s, but I'm referring to so many more than just Black Wall Street, right? But they were all over the place, other than Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm always thinking about these amazing Black towns that's really essentially what they were doing. They created infrastructure. So they had a lot of brick and mortar that really showcased businesses. But the ideas of us tapping back into that resilience, I always think about this amazing iconic wall we have behind us, right? That is always a reminder for me every day on this show that we're tapping back into that brilliance and those opportunities to elevate those amazing vendors. It takes a lot to be a vendor, right? But just to elevate the amazing folks who have said, I'm going to take this idea from an idea to creation and then bring it out to my community is so key. Plus a concert. I mean, you can't go wrong with music and also serving these families for the holidays. How beautiful is that? You guys are already thinking about this kind of reciprocity by saying, bring a canned good so we can help replenish the food bank. I love that because that's the work of community-based organizations. That's what we get to do in community. It's so great to talk to you, Taniesha, and hear more about this. I'll give you an opportunity if folks want to connect with the Federal Way Black Collective, if they want to come out. Maybe there's a great vendor who didn't know about the opportunity. Make sure they know how to connect with you all right there.
Yes, you can connect at info@fwblackcollective.com, and you can leave an email there, or you can email me directly at Taniesha, Taniesha .Lyons, Lyons at FW Black Collective and blackcollective.com. And I am looking forward to hearing from the community. We'll be having some community events starting in the new year. And so I'm just really, really excited about the good work that the collective is getting to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's necessary. And I love that there is something that people can connect to because I'm finding small hubs, small hubs throughout Federal Way. But I love that Federal Way Black Collective is on top of this and is saying, we're stepping out. You guys are doing events. You guys are going to be having more next year. I can't wait to be even more connected. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I'm telling y'all, we got great work happening in the community, and it's an amazing thing for us to be connected and plugged in and engaged with it all, because we help to make it even better when we are engaged, when we bring our ideas, when we connect with these amazing community-based organizations. So if you're out there in the Federal Way area, make sure you connect with Federal Way Black Collective. They're doing some great work. Well, after this short break, I get the pleasure to talk to Terry Moore. He is a musician, a producer, and so much more. I can't wait to dive into his musical journey right after this short break. Y'all stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Join us this holiday season at the Fifth Avenue Theater and feel the power of love overflowing with The Wiz. Filled with soaring soul and R&B songs, it's an effervescent explosion of music, dance, and magic your whole family will love. Ease on down the yellow brick road with Dorothy as she learns home isn't really where you live, it's who you love. The Wiz at the Fifth Avenue Theater, November 19th through December 23rd. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Habari Gani. My name is Noni Irvin, and I am the creator and founder of Kanara Park Kids, as well as the president of our sister nonprofit, Black for Charities, a 501c3 fiscally sponsored by Shunpike. Together, we are hosting the Kwanzaa Awards because it is important that we acknowledge and recognize the contributions and efforts of individuals and organizations who are showing us what the Kwanzaa principles look like throughout the year. The nomination window is open October 1st to November 30th, and yes, you can submit more than one nomination. Eligibility is simple. Individual award recipients must identify as Black, African American, or Pan-African, and organization award recipients must be 100% Black owned if for-profit or 100% Black led if nonprofit.
Hey Portland, Besa Gordon here. Not sure if you heard, but Trap Kitchen Weekend starts this Friday, November 18th at the Roseland Theater in downtown Portland. And you already know Converge Media has joined hands with the Trap Kitchen and we will be in the building. Join me, my Converge fam, Cool Nuts, G Perico, Jay Worthy, and Manny Blanco from VH1 Black in Compton as we celebrate food, music, and culture in a way that only the Trap Kitchen can. See you Friday for Trap Kitchen Weekend at the Roseland Theater, and be sure to follow Trap Kitchen PDX for more details and get your tickets today at roselandpdx.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Day with Trae. I'm really excited. I mean, we're already now talking about the Wiz. Y'all, it's coming here. Make sure you guys get your tickets. And shout out to the whole Converge team who's going to be out there in Portland. That sounds like an amazing event. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work with my schedule. I told you, Cuddy, I'm trying to get there. Anyways, I want to welcome my next guest to the show. Terry Moore is here. What's up, Terry?
Hey. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you for being here. I love my bros over at Weird at Night. Like, they're my peoples, right? And I've seen you on there several times doing your drops. Tell us a bit about the start of your musical journey.
Man, I've been out here for my whole life, born and raised in Seattle, and I've always kind of just been someone who's been an ancillary piece in different musical groups. I've been in several bands, and I just have always felt like, representation, like you guys were talking about earlier, is something that matters. So the only way that you can do that is really get into it yourself and create that lane. I've never adhered to the stereotypical parts of hip hop that people see. So I always wanted to have that. And I know that there's people out there who happen to embody Blackness who don't necessarily adhere to what's put out there. Mm-hmm. And so in order for those people to feel comfortable enough to come out of their shell, I feel like you have to be that beacon, right? And so that's the birth of my entire ideology with the music. Mm-hmm. Everything you hear me do, it's all from the space of originality, but without gimmick. And that in itself is a gimmick. I'm really a regular guy, right? And that's what everything embodies with what I'm putting out here. But it's very alternative influenced, grungy, raw. That's what my music is.
Well, I've heard some of your music, and I gotta say, you infuse a lot of different kinds of messaging in your music. And, for me, any artist who's putting their artwork out there to the world, you got to be saying something, right? And oftentimes it's like, you got to be saying something different. What I really appreciate about, what you do in the lane that you pave is that you're not trying to mimic what, major labels are doing right now or what artists are doing. And I think we need so much more of that, honestly, Terry. Like, there is such a huge hunger, I think, for us to go back to the kind of origination of hip hop, which was this positive messaging infused in it, right? It was something that was uplifting and empowering to people. And we do not hear that right now on the radio, man.
Unfortunately.
I mean, it's real. Tell us a bit about that state, because, for you to pave your own lane, to do things even like Weird at Night, right? To even be a character on there is like totally mind blowing, because they're like, yeah, we're up here, we're uplifting amazing talent. But you found a way to bring your work to that set, and it is such a beautiful whole environment. Just tell us a bit about some of your experience working with the Weird at Night crew.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The Weird at Night crew is great. Those are a bunch of individuals who are unafraid to test boundaries and actually express genuinely. That's what's lacking, is genuineness. People every day are out here, they feel a certain way about things. And because we deal with societal norms and how we are, it's hard to express those things in conversation without that fear of being not canceled, because that wasn't always a thing, but that's what we can call it now, right? So with those guys, I feel open. They've been one of the few people who've seen my work and actually like given me flowers while I'm here and trying to spread it out there. So to me, the only way to repay that is to be as genuine, be consistent, and give them something to be proud to share. Right. Again, I've met Blazing Space through the band I used to perform with a lot, Bear Axe, who was led by Shayna Shepherd. I know a lot of you guys know who she is. And he did a lot of visual work. He volunteered to do videos for me. He just put himself out there. And it kind of reinvigorated my spirit and let me know that it's like, man, it's okay. It's okay to be what I've been being. I don't have to adhere to these boxes. That's a lot of the ideology or the thinking in my music.
Yeah.
Right. And you've heard that, as you said before, that's all it is. So working with those guys has really opened up a way for me to show that Blackness encompasses everything.
Yeah.
And we're trying to, like you said, step back into the originality of hip hop and what it was, the positive momentum forward, helping impoverished people, help other people.
Yeah.
It's about doing that. Right. So I feel like the only way to continue our genre forward with respect is to bring that plethora of ideals out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nowadays the digitization of music in our world in general means that a musician such as yourself, there's a ton of different platforms. I just talked about over 200 podcast platforms, right? Like, the idea is that you get to infuse your music in different ways, like on a show like Weird at Night, to showcase what you do, is one of those great gems that I think we're living in. But also sometimes it's an inundation of like options for people. How have you found as a musician, putting your work out there so the public can hear it? What are some of the things that you think have really been beneficial to you in that way?
Basically just the ability to even simply put something in front of your friends. I know that a lot of the advice that musicians or people give is to not really rely on your local area to support you, because you'll be disappointed, and that's true.
Yeah.
But to have that immediate feedback, and people either like or they don't like it, or you see how it moves, just seeing that just gives you the confidence to keep going. Realizing that the goal should not always be the destination, it's the journey, which is a life thing. You just create. You just have to create. And then the more things and avenues you find to put it out on, you should just do that. That's what I've learned. I've been a shelled person for a long time, until the last few years, where it was like, okay, I have something here. I've done things in the past. Why am I resisting success. And success is only defined by your actual growth, right? I don't have to look to a Hollywood status to say that I'm successful in what I've done. It's just impacting the individuals I impact with my messaging, which is humanity's messaging.
Yeah, no, and that for me is everything. Even with me on this show, I'm always talking about creating impact media, man. If something I'm doing, somebody I'm having an interview with and having a discussion with is doing some inspiration, is inspiring me, it's inspiring others, like that's the goal, right? And so when I know I'm meeting that goal, I'm like, I'm good, I'm straight. One of the things I really appreciate, though, about the musical world is kind of what you've been describing with the crew at Weird at Night and what you just described there in terms of your friends and like having a base. It really is like you work with other musicians and things become like a family. It's like there's such a tight-knit community of amazing musicians here that a lot of musicians are now coming to Seattle to kind of tap in to that brilliance and tap into that, that kind of community of music, talent, and ability that's right here. So with you being from here, I'm sure you've been able to experience that, but I love how you describe it as such. It's something that I'm always thinking about when I'm talking to a musician. I'm like, there's something very specific about the Seattle music scene. So I love that you haven't given up on us as fans. I know it's a lot of hard work, but I really thank you for putting your work out there. I want to make sure I give you time to let the folks know how to find your amazing work. You can look right there. Let them know how they catch up with you, Terry.
You can go to terrymonstrosity.com, or you can also go to Bandcamp, terrymonstrosity.bandcamp.com. I'm also on every streaming platform like everybody else is. So you can just type that name in. I'm the only one, thankfully. And yeah, go check it out. It's really just something I feel like everybody would appreciate. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a different sonic sound. It's just something that you can take in and move on from. You don't have to be afraid if your kids walk in for the explicit lyrics. Your grandma could listen to it. Yeah, there's a couple cuss words, but it's not like that. It's just for emphasis. Other than that, I got the new Rent Non project coming with Lex Lingo and Mind the Villain. Be on the lookout for that. We have some singles up on YouTube.
Amazing. Terry Monstrosity in the building.
Thank you.
Terry Moore, thank you so much for being with me. And thank you for not being in your shell and bringing your music out so all of us can be inspired, be a fan, and listen to some great music. I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, you guys. I get to wrap all of this greatness up right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Basically, fam, believe in giving. Like, we have to be willing to give more, and people seem to always think giving means money, but nah, bro. It's like you can give time, you can give understanding, you can give access, you can give a listening ear and an open heart. You can give and share your God-given gifts and talents, but you just got to give.
A world of wonder awaits at Pacific Northwest Ballet's The Nutcracker. Treat your loved ones to the Northwest's favorite holiday tradition at Seattle Center's McCall Hall. Tickets start at $27. Visit pnb.org.
Habari Gani. My name is Noni Irvin, and I am the creator and founder of Kanara Park Kids, as well as the president of our sister nonprofit, Black for Charities, a 501c3 fiscally sponsored by Shunpike. Together, we are hosting the Kwanzaa Awards because it is important that we acknowledge and recognize the contributions and efforts of individuals and organizations who are showing us what the Kwanzaa principles look like throughout the year. The nomination window is open October 1st to November 30th, and yes, you can submit more than one nomination. Eligibility is simple. Individual award recipients must identify as Black, African American, or Pan-African, and organization award recipients must be 100% Black owned if for-profit or 100% Black led if nonprofit.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Day with Trae. What a great episode today. I want to give a huge shout out to my guest, of course, Taniesha Lyons with the Federal Way Black Collective, doing some great work out in my neck of the woods. And I'm already, every commercial break, I'm talking to him like, oh, okay, how can I get more engaged? How can I get involved? Because it's real. And I think it's so important, particularly for a lot of South King County cities that have seen an influx of Black families due to gentrification, that there be Black community-based organizations and entities where families can connect and be engaged. So doing work for small businesses is a great way to get that started. Love that the work that they're doing over there. And of course, we got to give Terry Monstrosity in the building a big shout out. Shout out to our partners over there at Weird at Night for sharing this amazing talent here with The Day with Trae. You know, when he talks about his musical journey, it's so amazing because he really stepped out and is doing work that is different. It's eclectic. And I promise you, you'll be surprised listening to some of the tracks. I mean, myself, I said, okay, man, he's saying something, and we need more of that in our music. But it is on us to uplift our local talent here. If we can't appreciate it, why should we expect that anybody else anywhere else is going to appreciate it? What oftentimes happens, unfortunately, Seattle, is that we allow our amazing local talent to get known all over the country. And then we're like, oh, everybody else is paying attention to them. Maybe we should. How about we be the first ones to pay attention to amazing talent in our backyard? And you can start with Terry Monstrosity. Make sure you check him out. Of course, I want to thank you guys because for me, I'm inspired by these stories. You know, what Taniesha shared, what Terry shared. Oh, look at that. A triple T. Taniesha, Terry, and Trae. It was on today and on a Tuesday. It was all the way live. But I will say that, you know, for me, I want you guys to be inspired. That's why the guests that come on here, they always have something amazing to share and something to say. And you guys know, for me, I want you to be inspired to see yourself as a part of the solution. The more of us who are doing that, the better we all are in our world. Thank you guys for tuning in. And for me, until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.